Now, entrepreneurs, whether they are unemployed people striking out on their own or seasoned business people trying to get their businesses back on track, will often suffer the same fate unless they do things differently in order to grow and become profitable. To offer perspective on growing a successful and sustainable business, I'm joined tonight by Herbert Jalum Louisa, business management consultant with Young Trep East Africa. Herbert, let's talk money. Now, first off, I'd like us to make a distinction between profitability and growth.
Profitability and growth. I think there is a small difference between profitability and growth, because profitability eventually leads into growth. But it is also very possible to have a business that is profitable and is not growing. Profit is basically making more than you can actually spend on your business. I mean, if your expenses are slightly lower than your incomes, then you have a profit. I mean, that is the simple mathematics that the layman can understand. But you see, the margin of profit may not necessarily lead into growth. You could have a small business and probably your expenses in a month are like, let me say 3 million, and you make slightly averagely above that, maybe 4 million, 5 million. You're having a profit of about 2 million, but you see that 2 million may not be translated into actual growth. Growth in terms of numbers of, new employees coming on board, numbers of new sales made. You probably have the same number of clients, you have the same, you're basically working with a fixed, in a fixed kind of environment, yeah.
Now, we do have some businesses that are doing well, and I mean, when you look at their bottom line, they are profitable.
Yeah, they are profitable.
And they tend to fear to grow. What would you say to a business like that?
Actually, my experience with businesses, especially in the country, very many people tend to fear growth. Growth is a very scary thing, actually. It's a very hard corner to navigate. So most of them fear growth, and they decide to remain small, have something you can be able to manage, which is risky in the long process, because there are factors that change around the business environment in which you're operating. Inflation is going to go up, prices are going to go up, and if you cannot keep, taxes are going to go up. So if you cannot keep making more money, that means selling more, then it catches up. The margins keep reducing gradually until it catches up with you. And obviously, when you reach that point where you're not making money, then you start losing money. So for me, I don't think in the long term it's a nice thing to do. I think the best thing is to try and grow, because at one point, if you don't decide to grow, then the business may outgrow you.
Interesting. Let's talk about sustainability. Now, when we talk about sustainability, we're looking at managing the financial, social, and environmental aspects of our businesses that ensure that businesses actually thrive and live for a longer time. But you find that smaller businesses typically look at the financial environment and do not necessarily think in terms of managing the environmental risks and the social risks.
That's very, very true. One thing I think is sustainability comes with growth. You have to be able to grow to be able to remain in business, because like I told you, if you're not growing, then it catches up with you at one point. The business environment, everything catches up with you. So sustainability comes with continuous growth. The question should be, what should people then do to be able to keep growing? And for me, I usually summarize it. Usually when I'm doing trainings and I'm doing, coachings, I like to summarize some of the things in short, forms in which the layman can understand. There is this thing I call the P.O.D.C. P.O.D.C, that is planning, organization, discipline, and the customer. I think those are the fundamental aspects of business, growth, which in turn results into sustainability.
Now, one of the challenges I find with many of our small businesses, even though they are doing well, is you find that they do not have proper governance structures. Talk to us about the dangers of not having proper structures and systems in place.
You see, one thing the thing I love to tell people is that if you're running a business and you don't have structures and you're not formal, it goes back to the P.O.D.C I was telling you, which is planning. For you to be able to be in business and last for long, there has to be a plan. Things just don't work out like that, you know. You don't come out of the blue and just grow and, you know, remain in business over time. I know there are people who stumble upon success, but you see, if you stumble upon success, it becomes hard to keep that success. You know, success has to be intentional. You have to intend to succeed. If you just stumble upon success, those are the businesses you see that they have been doing well, then overnight, with no explanation, they are nowhere. Yeah, so planning is very, very critical. And then organization. And I tell this to people every day. Money follows organization. If you're not organized, Rukshana, I mean, even in our daily lives, money aside, whether it is in relationships, if you're not, you know, organized, you're going to have problem with your partners. So I think even in businesses, it's the same thing. If you're not organized, people are not going to want to deal with you. You know, it's going to be hard for you to even, you know, put a finger on certain things in the business. Then from organization, you know, we have the P.O.D.C, we have discipline, which is, I think, very key. Discipline is key across board because there are things it's not good enough to have principles. We've seen people who have gone to, you know, business class and they know all these principles, but when they come to business, they fail flat. Why? It's because they're not disciplined enough to put these principles they've learned to practice.
Perfect point to end this conversation. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Now, he's talked about the P.O.D.C, and that is planning. What was O again? O
was organization.
Organization,
D was discipline, and I didn't talk about C, who is the customer. You cannot grow a business without the customer. The customer brings you the money that then grows the business, because the more customers you have, the more employees you have to get to meet, you know, the demands of the customer.
Okay.
And indefinitely the cycle goes, and, you know, that's how growth comes. So
okay, so if you must remember anything, it should be planning, organization, discipline, and the customer. Thank you so much for joining us tonight as we talked money. NBS Live at 9 takes a break and returns shortly.